So now moving on to the types of research. The basic type of research are as follows: descriptive versus analytical. The main characteristics of this method, that is the descriptive research method, is that the researcher has no control over the variables. He can only report what has happened or what is happening. Descriptive research includes surveys and fact finding inquiries of different kinds. The major purpose of the descriptive research is description of the state of affairs as it exists at present. Most ex facto research projects are used for descriptive studies in which the researcher seeks to measure such items as, for example, frequency of shopping, preferences of people, or similar data. Ex post facto studies also include attempts by researchers to discover causes even when they cannot control the variables. In social science and business research, we quite often use the term ex post facto research for the descriptive research studies. The method of research utilized in descriptive research are survey methods of all kinds, including comparative and correlational methods. So, this was about the descriptive research studies. Then, moving on in analytical research. But in analytical research, on the other hand, what happens is the researcher has to use facts or information already available and these measures to make a critical evaluation of the material. So yes, now moving on to the second type of research, that is applied versus fundamental. Firstly, we'll talk about the applied research. Applied research can also be said as the action research. It aims at finding a solution for an immediate problem facing a society or an industrial or business organization. But when we talk about the fundamental research, it is mainly concerned with generalization and with the formation of a theory. And the theory states that gathering knowledge for knowledge's sake is termed pure or basic research. So, research concerning some natural phenomena or relating to pure mathematics are the examples of fundamental research. Then, one more example for the fundamental research is a research studies concerning the human behavior carried on with a view to make generalization about human behavior are also the example of fundamental research. But when we talk about the applied research, it is aimed to find certain conclusions, say as solutions facing a concrete social or business problem. So, research to identify social, economic, or political trends that may affect a particular institution, or the copy research, or the marketing research, or the evaluation research are the examples of applied research. So, thus, finally, we want to conclude that the central aim of applied research is to discover a solution for some pressing practical problems, whereas basic research, that is the fundamental research, is directed towards finding the information that has a broad base of application and thus adds to the already existing organized body of scientific knowledge. So, now moving on to the third type of research, quantitative versus the qualitative research. When we talk about the word quantitative, it means that it is going to give an information about a quantity or an amount. So quantitative research is nothing but it is based on the measurement of quantity or amount. It is applicable to phenomena that can be expressed in terms of quantity. On the other hand, when we move on to the qualitative research, the term qualitative means it is going to give an information or talk about some kind of quality or kind that is concerned with qualitative phenomena. But in qualitative research, that is the phenomena relating to or involving quality or kind. For instance, when we are interested in investigating the reasons for human behavior, that is why people think or do certain things, we quite often talk of motivation research, an important type of qualitative research. When we want to have a common difference conceptually or methodologically between qualitative and quantitative research, that is, when we say qualitative, it is concerned with understanding human behavior from the informant's perspective. But when we talk about the quantitative, it is concerned with discovering facts about social phenomena. Qualitative assumes a dynamic and negotiated reality, but in quantitative, it assumes a fixed and measurable reality. When we talk about the methodological perspective for qualitative, data are collected through participant observation and interviews, but in quantitative, it is collected through the measuring things. When we talk about the qualitative, data are analyzed by themes from description by informants, but in quantitative, data are analyzed through numerical comparisons and statistical inference. When we talk about the qualitative, data are reported in the language of the informant, but in quantitative, data are reported through statistical analysis. So now moving on to the last type of research, that is the conceptual versus the empirical research. When we talk about the conceptual research, it is that related to some abstract ideas or theory. That is, it is generally used by philosophers and thinkers to develop new concepts or to reinterpret existing ones. That is, conceptual research is a defined methodology wherein research is conducted by observing and analyzing already present information on a given topic. That is, it does not involve conducting any practical experiments. It is related to some kind of abstract concepts or ideas by an researcher. But on the other hand, empirical research relies on experiences or observation alone, often without due regard for system or a theory. Evidence gathered through experiments or empirical studies is today considered to be the most powerful support possible for a given hypothesis. So, as we are done with the discussion of the previous 4 types of research, now moving on to some other types of research. All other types of research are variations of one or more of the above stated approaches. There are other types of research based on either the purpose of the research or the time period to accomplish research, the environment in which research is done, or the basis of some other similar factor. From the point of view of time, we can think of research either as one-time research or longitudinal research. In the former case, the research is confined to a single time period, whereas in the longitudinal research case, it is carried on several time periods. Again, research can be field setting research or laboratory research or stimulation research, depending upon the environment in which it is to be carried out. So, as we are done in brief with the types of research, now moving on to the next title is research approaches. The above description of the types of research brings to light the fact that there are two basic approaches to the research, that is the quantitative approach and the second one is the qualitative approach. The former, that is the quantitative approach, involves the generation of data in quantitative form, which can be subjected to rigorous quantitative analysis in a formal and rigid fashion. This approach, that is the quantitative approach, can be further subclassified into interferential experimental and stimulation approaches to the research. The purpose of the interferential approach to research is to form a database from which to infer characteristics or relationships of the population. That is, this usually means survey research where a sample of population is studied, is questioned or observed to determine its characteristics, and it is then inferred that the population has the same characteristics. So now moving on to the qualitative approach, it means that it is concerned with the subjective assessment of attitude, opinions and behavior. Research in such a situation is a function of researchers' insights and impressions. It is said that such an approach to research generates results either in non-quantitative form or in the form which are not subjected to rigorous quantitative analysis. Generally, it is said that the techniques of focus group interviews, projective technique and depth interviews are used. All these are explained in the previous types of research too. So, when we talk about the significance of research, we have to discuss that what is the difference made by the research in our society. All progress is born of inquiry. Doubt is often better than overconfidence, for it leads to inquiry and inquiry leads to invention. It is said by a famous Hudson maxim in context of which the significance of research can well be understood. Increased amount of research make progress possible. So, research inculcates scientific and inductive thinking and it promotes the development of logical habits of thinking and organization. So, the role of research in several fields of applied economics, whether related to business or to the economy as a whole, has greatly increased in modern times. So, in addition to what has been stated above, the significance of research can also be understood keeping in view the following points. Those points are: to those students who are to write the master's or PhD thesis, research may mean a careerism or a way to attain a high position in the social structure. It may also be helpful for the professionals. In research methodology, research may mean a source of livelihood. To the philosophers and thinkers, research may mean the outlet for new ideas and insights. To the literary men and women, research may mean the development of new styles and creative work. But to the analysts and intellectual, research may mean the generalization of new theories upcoming. So, we want to conclude what is the significance of research, that is, Research is the foundation of knowledge for the sake of knowledge, an important source of providing guidelines for solving different business, government, and social problems. Also, research is a sort of formal training which enables one to understand the new developments in one's field in a better way. So, now talking about the research methods versus methodology, it seems appropriate at this juncture to explain the difference between research methods and research methodology. So, when talking about research techniques, as it refers to the behavior and instruments we use in performing research operations, those are making observations, recording data, techniques of processing data, and the likewise. When we talk about the research methods, it refers to the behavior and instruments which are being used in selecting and constructing a research technique. For instance, the difference between methods and techniques of data collection can be better understood from the following chart.